Alright, so now that we have the desktop set up exactly the way that we want it, we need to then change all the stuff for mobile as well. Some things that I would consider, because I'm trying to kind of carry over the look from here to here. Some things that I definitely want to do differently is I need to pull over the logo. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to drag it over. Again, I'm just kind of doing some of this stuff for multiple times just so you kind of get used to it. Now as I do that, I'm seeing that like the logo is pretty large in that area. It's not super readable because the red definitely vibrates on top of that purple area here. It makes it really hard to read, and actually that kind of green's not that great either. So I've got that. I've got the menu on the left, which isn't very common, and the magnifying glass for the search icon really taking up a lot of space here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to modify some of this here, and I'm going to remove the magnifying glass, turn that search icon off, and I'm going to pull the logo over to the side, and I'm going to grab my navigation. People are a little bit more used to seeing it over on the right hand side. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger too so it's easier to click on. And I grab that logo and pull it over here a little bit more. So now as I have that, I'm seeing again this logo still does not look good on top of this purple here. So I'm going to go ahead and just make that a little bit smaller. Alright, and now it looks like because my mobile menu was white, I need to change that so it is visible. And I'm just going to do a real simple option here where I add a layer color overlay. You can see I've got this option up here. I'm going to make it just that purple that we have the rest of the site, or let's see what it looks like in green. Sure, let's go with green, kind of carry that through. Alright, so we've got that. So far, we're doing pretty good here. Now, a lot of times when you take an image and you scale it over to a mobile device here, certain things get cut off. Definitely words I would definitely try to stay away from putting on top of here. If you're going to do that, have the words be its own layer that goes on top of the photo, so it's a separate element, so you can swap it out for mobile devices. Because if they were just like kind of photoshopped into here and just like flattened onto this image, you're going to wind up cutting part of it off as you go to mobile. Now, some people, if this is a slider area, maybe it just rotates a bunch of different photos. A lot of times on mobile devices, people just turn it off because it becomes so small and hard to read, it becomes almost pointless. So that is one option. Because this is just kind of a beauty shot right now, I think we can get away with just having this photo by itself like that. No real text right here, it's fine. Maybe we could put some buttons on it later, but that's pretty good right now. Now again, I did just kind of port over a lot of this text. And you can see that this header here is real small on mobile. So even though it's scaled down proportionately, it's not looking great. So very similar to the desktop version of it. It's kind of bouncing there. I guess it's running the line. Similar to the desktop version, I really kind of want to make it even on side to side here. Give it kind of an even gap or gutter area on the left and right. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up a little bit. Just kind of remove some of the leading on that one. And I'm going to go down a little bit more. And I can see my copy here. Again, I'm at 100% down here. So I know this is actually how someone's going to view it on a mobile device. Is that it's very small and hard to read. So I'm going to come into my text here. I'm going to pull it down. Looks like it's up a little bit high. Pull that down there, and I'm going to increase the font size. And because it's just Greek copy, I'm going to be okay with the fact that it's kind of getting cut off here right now. We don't know exactly how much there is. We can adjust that later once we have the final copy. That larger copy is a little bit easier to read. Maybe I want to lead that out a little bit. It's a 22-point font, so let's maybe say a 35-point leading. And let's take it down a little bit. Maybe 33. There we go. Split the difference at 33. That looks pretty good. Now in the desktop version, we made it justified, so it's exactly the same on left and right. This may or may not look good on a mobile device because a lot of times text can kind of break funny because there's only so many words in each line. So it can start to create large gaps in some areas and small gaps in other areas. The space between words is very small on this line, whereas opposed to this line is a lot larger because it has to fill that area to try to fit the width. So on mobile devices, maybe just go centered as opposed to fully justified. You can stay left justified, that's just as fine. As we scroll down here, we can see that this is our area. So maybe this is a good option to not have a photo in the background. Maybe here we do just have the text, so it's larger. If I were to pull this image of the computer over, it's going to force me to make this text a lot smaller and these buttons a lot smaller, which would not be a good UX UI kind of option in this case, because again, anytime you make it hard for someone to click, chances are they will not click. If you make it hard to read, they're not going to read it. So in that case, I'm just going to keep just a kind of solid area going over here. Again, carry through a lot of this text. It's okay that some of this text is a little bit smaller in these cases. Oops. Maybe I want to make that text a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to read. So we've got a carousel area here. I didn't even pull a picture over just yet because this would probably port over just fine. We've got a nice horizontal photo that should scale down pretty good, so I'm not too worried about that one. Text is looking good here. The rest of this area is fine here. That photo would scale just fine. Similar to this case up here for this callout area, I would maybe want to make this text, again, this text is a little bit different than that purple that was up there. This one's actually kind of okay. Change my font there, and maybe making that white, just go ahead and see what that looks like. I still think that looks a little bit better, a little bit easier to read. Maybe I'll make it a little bit wider here, so it really kind of becomes easy to read and it sets itself apart from the other copy that's within there, because this is a call to action. You're asking somebody to do something, click here to get started, sign up now, whatever. Very important to make sure that this is getting people's attention. Now, another thing that we carried over from the desktop view are the 3-column format for the footer menu areas here. So bringing that over, yeah, it's a different color footer, that's not a big deal. But the fact that it's 3 columns here just really doesn't look all that great. What you could do is you could do maybe a set of 2 columns and then a 1, but I think in this case, the best bet would just be to look at doing a 1-column format similar to this. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to show the 2, so I'm not having to extend my artboard right now. But I would probably just stack them like this, as opposed to trying to squish everything in a side-by-side format. You always want to make this as easy for people's fingers to be able to click on these different links here. We start to put them side by side, and it becomes too easy to accidentally click on the wrong link. Now, again, we have the copyright here on the desktop version that is left aligned and the logo is right aligned. In this case, I think I'm just going to pull over the logo so it's centered. Again, if you saw that I was dragging right there, you see I've got that pink line shows that I'm centered, so I'm good right there. Maybe I don't need the logo for this case, not a problem for the mobile device, but those are the kinds of things that I would want to change going from desktop to mobile view.